With that, maybe we can start with some of the questions, Arno and colleagues. And in the earlier session, we also had some questions about the onboarding process and all that has been covered in the presentation. But when we look at the ICA or LICA contract modality, is there any limitations in terms of what type of roles and functions can be contracted under the ICA or LICA, or it is up to the partner to decide? And as you respond to this part, maybe I can pose the next question as well as on the pay, particularly the equal pay, and how UNOPS ensures that there is non-discrimination for the ICA holders payment across the regions and countries. Over to you.
So maybe yes, Lauren, you can take these two. I'm happy to come in, but I think you are better equipped. So yeah, Lauren.
I'll take the first question, and if you want to take the second one. Okay, so thank you, Zamir, for your question. For the ICA partner contract, first of all, the ICA is a non-staff contract, so it's for non-core functionalities. However, it is a project-based contract. So sometimes, as I mentioned in one of the slides, for the local, when you need national expertise on the ground, you can opt for the local contract from level 1 all the way up to level to the higher levels 11, whereby you will cover both support and specialist areas. And you can also have the international contract come in for other specialized roles. So it is not to replace the staff contract, but it is to support the ongoing projects on the ground from another contract modality that has a good level of benefits and entitlements. Over.
Yeah, and maybe, Lorraine, just to reiterate the wide range, as you saw in the presentation, right, one of the slides that Lorraine had, the comparison with the ICSC scale. You can see how wide the ICA modality, if you combine the local and international contract, you can see it goes from quite lower level to a very high level. Thanks, Lorenzo, for showing the slide. Even equivalent to, higher than P5, so very, very senior level. So very, very flexible modality. On your second question, Zamir, and you are assuming that our brains are still functioning and can cope with two questions at a time. But I think I remember your question. I would say it's all about having the right setup at the beginning. That's where, when we onboard a new partner, we agree on the parameters, the specific package that will be tailored to them, including the scales, the salary scales to be used. And then it's up to their HR to apply these scales in accordance to their rules and to ensure they are applied equally across country offices and regions. But I don't know, David, Lorenzo, if you want to come in as well, or if you think I've covered it well. Over.
I know, Lorenzo, you covered it quite well. There is we can apply the ICSC salary scale or HR teams from our partners can design a scale that might be applicable and correct to the needs of these specific project teams. Just to add, as it has been seen, that through the ICA contract modality, we can engage regular levels, as is on the list, but also retainer, lump sum, and home-based modalities, which could have obviously a different type of fee scale. Again, to be decided by the local, the HR teams of our partners. We obviously work with the partner and helping them on the decision of these scales if that support is obviously needed. Thank you.
Yeah, and just one more item from my end. So when it comes to whether or not a local ICA or an international ICA, what should be the choice? Our teams on the ground, who are the direct link with the client's counterpart or the partners, they will always provide the advice, and then it is up to the partner to decide what is best suited for their project and their deliverables. They will always be there. They will always be in a position to advise, saying, well, in a UNOPS context, this would be the setup because of ABC, or this would be the fee. But in the end, is the partner's decision. So this touches upon, again, on the flexibility and the customization part, because items also need to be in accordance with what is possible on the client side. So over.
Thank you, colleagues. And I'm going to go with one question after this. So I actually, I am combining two other questions, but they are related. There's a question from colleagues that if they want to utilize, if a local office would like to utilize the UNOPS HR services, can they simply sign a UN to UN agreement, or there would be a need for a global MOU or agreement? And related to this is the other aspect that I think you covered on modular HR service, is that what if they want one segment of the service, let's say just the recruitment or just the payroll, would they still be able to use this or not? From a global shared services perspective, Arno and colleagues, what is your recommendation on engagement?
I don't know.
Over to you, please.
Yeah, maybe Lauren, if you want to take.
I'll start and hand over to you guys. Okay, so on the agreement. So if we have a country, a partner who wants to have an agreement at the country level, yes, that is okay. Usually what we do is we have a global agreement which establishes the framework for all the different scopes of the agreement. And then any country agreement, any country could piggyback onto that under the umbrella of the global agreement. However, if a country has a specific mandate and only wants to function in a specific country, then yes, of course, by all means, they are welcome to approach the UNOPS country office. And then they will have those discussions, clarifications. They will talk about costing and all the different things to be included in the agreement. And we will be supporting from PLG from a support perspective on as needed, but yes, the country office in short can run the agreement. And on the second part, I think it was related to, I know you can come in. I see you want to come in.
Yes, the modular selection of services.
Yes, of course. The modular, as we said, we have a modular agreement, so either they can have UNOPS running the admin side and the payroll side, or you can, for example, have only the recruitment side or a combination of both. But maybe Arno or David, you wanted to come in on this one, on the offering the payroll on its own or the recruitment on its own. Go ahead.
No, it was more on the engagement, right? Country, region, or global. As you said, we are flexible and we see different scenarios. What we see, though, is more and more our partner, they welcome the opportunity to sign global agreements, because that unlocks the full package, the full support from headquarters and colleagues on the ground. So both routes and options are available, but I would say as a partner, if you want to really benefit from the full support from UNOPS can offer and get the full buy-in from your respective headquarters, it's recommended and best practice to reach out to us, and that will facilitate actually local collaboration, as Lauren was saying. That's just what I wanted to add. Over.
Thank you, Laurentia.
To complement what my colleagues have shared, one of the advantages of why we also recommend as a best practice the global agreement approach is scalability, because once this is in place, technically any office in any country can just engage on a much faster process, like on a fast track process, as opposed to going again through all the review processes and making sure that everybody is on board, because the global agreements are usually agreed and signed at HQ level. And at the same time, it offers consistency and alignment across. So we make sure that all the offices in all the regions have the same pay structure, the same approach, the same matrix of responsibilities. So there's no misunderstanding or items that are unchecked. because that has already been agreed and reviewed between the relevant practices at HQ. So over.
Thank you, colleagues. And I can also confirm from a UNSDG Business Innovation Group's perspective, the reason that these services are scaled at the global level, global services, the recommended approach is to have global agreements signed with the headquarters of different agencies so that the country offices do not duplicate the efforts or negotiate individual contracts, but to utilize the service as soon as possible. Moving on, colleagues, maybe we can, I see so many questions about the cost. And we're talking about the efficiency in here, and we need to convince our colleagues why they should utilize services from HR, from UNOPS, HR services from UNOPS, and what is the cost structure around this, and how do you determine basically efficiencies from the cost that you offer to the clients? How would they benefit from these services from a cost perspective? I throw all type of questions, but it's all about cost. Please.
Yes. So maybe I can start, and I hope colleagues can supplement. So first, I would like to refer some of the words that Andrew used when he responded to a similar question. So he advocated for the benefits of basically outsourcing, and he shared how UNFPA, they approach it. I think the question was on mutual recognition in the HR space, right? But when you outsource, you benefit from specialized expertise, from scale, even though you might not have a large volume. But because we at UNOPS, we specialize in this, our colleagues are experts, we are investing and have dedicated teams dealing with this, and you benefit from the scale by outsourcing part of your HR processes, contract administration, payroll, and so forth. And here you avoid cost, and that's efficiency. Because if you were to do it yourselves, you would need colleagues on your own payroll to do it, and then instead you contract us to do it on your behalf. So I would say that's the first part of the response. The other, as Lorraine was mentioning, as a demand-driven, project-based, and self-finance organization, we operate on a full cost recovery basis, which means we cover our cost through the projects we implement for our partners. And that's really been a key driver for us since our existence. The current cost recovery model, Lorraine explained, right, that there is the direct and the indirect cost. And for the indirect costs, so the management fee that we charge, currently we charge the standard fee that we charge is around 3%. But as we mentioned during the presentation, we are working on a revised cost recovery model, and we are committed to switching to a per payroll cost, which we feel would be more aligned with this principle of cost recovery. So I hope that partially at least answered the question, and I will ask now my colleagues to come in if they have anything to add. Over.
No, I think you covered it, I know, on all aspects. Thank you.
Perfect. Moving on the aspect of the insurance, Lorraine, maybe we can bring this to you. There's a question about the insurance coverage for ICAs, and there was also an earlier question about insurance coverage for personnel that may be posted in high risk or remote areas. Maybe you can explain a little bit that what kind of insurance coverage is already offered and what would be recommended insurances that an ICA personnel would require if they are operating in a high risk environment.
Okay, thank you, Zamir, for that question. I will start with the response, and of course, I leave Laurentia to pitch in as needed. So on the insurances, so for as we, maybe if we can go to the slide, Laurentia, with the insurance coverage, please. So for local ICAs, there is a mandatory medical insurance that is included with the contract. But for international ICAs, they would have to purchase their own insurance, and we ensure that they do that because, of course, we want the ICAs to be safe on the ground wherever they are. Some other insurances we have the death and disability insurance for non-service incurred injuries. This is applicable for the local ICAs. Malicious acts insurance policy applicable for both international and locals. The service incurred injury, illness, and death insurance, both ICA, LICA, and international ICA. Same goes for danger pay. For medical evacuation, if and when they are in a difficult duty station or for any other medical evacuation reason, we encourage our partners to include in the agreement that we have with the medical evacuation. So if any evacuation is required, then that international ICA would be covered for that specific incident. For the local ICAs, the medical evacuation is already included in the package of medical insurance. So if they need to be moved from one place to another, there is a coverage in the medical insurance. And I don't know, Laurentia, if you'd like to add to this any other points. Thank you.
So the insurances, all of them, especially for the local ICAs, they are, of course, they have certain ceilings and certain provisions. So for the local contractors, there is a transportation component, but that is usually designed to cover transportation within country borders. However, we have the setup also looks at whether or not there are adequate medical facilities within the country, or if not, what is available in the neighboring country. So our insurance team, if there is an emergency, they will explore both of these options, and then in collaboration with the medical provider will offer the needed support. The response time is usually for an insurance question is a day or 1 to 2 days. But of course, when there is an emergency that is presenting a situation which is life-threatening, then the response time is much faster. So, and we do have dedicated colleagues who are in direct contact with the insurance providers when incidents happen. Over.
Thank you for those responses, colleagues. Maybe we can now go to the other two related questions. One is that, is there any limitation for partner personnel recruited through UNOPS to work with host governments? Let's say they're not posted in the UN offices and facilities, but they are recruited to be to support the host government in their offices. And another part of this question is if there is any limitation to issue IICA for nationals of a particular country, or it has to be LICA. Over to you. Okay, it's a lot of silence.
Maybe
David,
no. We are. I was trying to process the question, but I can see David volunteered. So by all means, David, and we can chip in.
I'm not sure if you are going to talk, but as long as colleagues are under a UN entity or a hosted entity under a UN entity, ICA contracts are can be issued regardless of the TOR. That means that these colleagues under an ICA contract managed by a UN entity or a hosted entity of a UN entity can operate in any environment supporting governments or with any capacity that the TOR is describing. So absolutely no limitations there. And I definitely defer to you the international ICA for a national of a country, which is the duty station.
Yeah, thank you, David. So on the next part, on the international, if they can work in a local, in the local country, I think that was a question.
A local, if they can be issued international contract.
Yes, there are some instances. Yes, there are some instances where a local can be issued an international contract. It depends, of course, on the partner. As we say, we are flexible, and it depends on the partner need. So if they need an international for different, sometimes it's for political conversations or different aspects, then if they need to have an international consultant in his or her home country, international contract can be issued. The important thing here is the permit to work in that country. So being a local in the country, definitely they would have a permit. And then the issue of having an international contract is not something that we do not provide if it's so needed by the partner, let's say. Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that, Lauren and David. The next question is on the ERP systems. We have various ERP systems in the UN system at the moment. And intention is to bring all of them together at some point. So we have better consolidation of the ERP, but that's going to be a longer term vision. For any entity that's not using a similar ERP system as UNOPS, is there any kind of issues or challenges to acquire the services of UNOPS for HR services, or the services ERP agnostic?
So the short answer is that there are no limitation, and that the ICA modality is ERP agnostic. But I want to elaborate a little bit on this question, which I think is really also at the core of the UN80 efficiency agenda, how to bring or enable a closer collaboration across the UN system. I would say that the ERP, you don't necessarily need to have the same ERP to have inter-agency workflows, right? A workflow that starts in one agency's system, continue in another one, and the other way around. There are now technical ways to do it through APIs. So this is an area that we are looking into at UNOPS to further enhance our digital processes to allow better cross-agency collaboration. And make sure our systems speak to their systems and the other way around. But I see it as a different conversation than ERP integration, which, as you said, will take a long time, etc. So I hope that answered the question. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Arnaud. And colleagues, we are 7 minutes away from the conclusion of this session. My colleague Prudence has shared a link for a survey about these global webinars. And we really appreciate if you take a moment and click and answer a few questions that's there in the survey, including if you are doing anything special in your country office on AI and robotics. There's a bonus question at the end that could be shared with other agencies. We're watching all those responses and picking up on ideas that can be shared at the interagency level for the Business Innovation Group to scale some of the successful local initiatives with the AI and robotics that can be expanded to other country offices and other agencies. And as I'm talking about the AI, I think, Arnaud, you already see this question is coming, that we had the digital and AI tools highlighted as part of an upcoming roadmap or a future roadmap of the UNOPS. Could you share maybe how the AI or even the robotic processes could help automate or what kind of automation might be expected that might change the way the HR services are delivered to the UN system today? Not necessarily very specifically to UNOPS' HR, but in general. But you can also be like very specific if you have it already in the shop, please.
I'm not sure 6 minutes now would be enough to cover. This is really a broad question. But let me start by zooming out from HR and think about what we're doing at UNOPS. The first thing we have done is to ensure that colleagues across the organization have access to the best AI tools, can experiment, pilot ways to automate things, etc. So this is already done. Then we have, as an organization, quite unique IT development capabilities. So we are collaborating with our IT colleagues who are developing tailored, fit-for-purpose platforms, apps, which are AI-powered by default. So instead of adding AI on top of an existing process, because we have embarked on a quite ambitious process innovation and digitalization transformation program, we have a unique opportunity to start from scratch, redefining how we work, streamlining the processes, automating as much as possible. And HR is one area where there is a lot of potential because it's heavily transactional. So we have with David's team an amazing team who deals with a lot of the transactional admin burden. They are hyper efficient, and we are actually piloting and working with them and IT colleagues to bring in more efficiencies for us and our colleagues, because as I said, any efficiency gains we make from thanks to AI, digitalization, process automation, we will pass on to our partners, including through this revised and enhanced cost recovery model we have started to work on. I hope that answers the question. Over.
You covered it faster than expected, Arno. So thank you. I can see a hand raised from one of our IOM colleagues, Ibrahim. Ibrahim, your microphone is activated. You can unmute yourself and come in.
Thank you very much, Zamir, and thank you, colleagues, for the information webinar. This is Ibrahim from IOM, and I'm in Sudan. Just quick question regarding the length of the contracts. I think either was mentioned by Arnaud or Lorraine about the duration. It can be it can range from surge contracts, which 3-4 weeks, up to months. What limitations are we talking here about in terms of the length of the contracts, the duration? Are there any limitations, or it depends on the funding situation, et cetera, et cetera? And I'm here mainly talking about national contract modalities. Thank you very much. Over.
So that's a great question, but Lorraine, I think yes, if you can cover this one.
I beat you to it again, Arno. Thank you, Ibrahim, for that question. A very good question. For the local contracts, as we said, we can have a local ICA monthly based, retainer, or lump sum. And the contract duration can range literally anywhere from 1 hour to several months or years, depending on the partner requirement and, of course, the budget, the funding. So if those parameters are there, there is any issue in the contract duration. Thank you.
But from our end, right, Lorraine, there's no limitation, right? As you said, it can range from 1 hour up to several years. But the limitation, of course, come from the partner's budget, etc.
Yes. And I see, Lorenzo, you have your hand up. Please go ahead.
Yes. And just to complement that answer, it is important also to emphasize that while our system can even, for example, produce an ongoing contract, means an open-ended, this is often not possible from the client side because their budgets usually are on a yearly basis or bi-yearly basis. And that being said, is also we recommend to our partners that after a person has been on the same contract for a period of time, it's important that they might consider a revision of the function to see whether or not the job has evolved. So then we ensure that it reflects reality, right? A person doing a job now might be maybe doing different tasks in 2 years or anything related to that. So our systems can address this level of flexibility, but it's important also that what we issue is also aligned with the policies you have. Because, for example, if on your end you will have any limitation saying you cannot have a non-staff person for more than 3 years, then technically it's important that we address this requirement simply because from a legal perspective, contracts of course come with a series of disclaimers, and one of those disclaimers says that the contract issued by UNOPS, it's on behalf of. So therefore that legal aspect it's addressed. So thank you. Over.
very simple part is for a field colleague or an office, even if it's a small office that would like to utilize the services of the ICA from UNOPS, what would be like a typical process for them? Let's say if they don't have, or if they have a global agreement, in this case with UNOPS. And before you start, I would request Laurentine to take the slides off if possible, so that we can see all of you in the screen. Thank you.
Thanks, Zamir, and thanks, colleagues. So maybe this one, and I'm really eager for Lorraine to to come in during this session. That was the plan. So maybe Lorraine, if you don't mind, you could test that your microphone works live and try to answer this first question. That would be great.
Okay, thank you, Arnaud. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. First of all, my sincere apologies for being late. The technology really beat me this time. Nothing worked. But thanks to all the colleagues on the call who helped me, and we're finally here. So my name, I'm sure they presented me, Lorraine Arabtawi, and I'm working as partnership specialist for the global HR agreements in UNOPS. Pleasure to be here and very happy to take on these questions. Thank you. So Zamir, thank you. Very interesting question from the audience. And basically, so when we are initiating the HR services for non-staff personnel, the first thing is that the partner approaches UNOPS, hears about us from some agency or some different partner, and they come to us with the discussion, their need, what they're looking for, and what kind of agreement they want to go into. So we go over all the negotiations, the different costing modalities, whatever we are able to reach a middle ground where we are presenting them with a service that they that's good for their mandate. And then, of course, we engage in a global agreement at headquarter to headquarter. We also encourage smaller offices, as you said, in the regions and country offices, where the mandate of the partner is not so big maybe, and they're looking for something more specialized. Then, of course, they can approach our offices in the region and have that discussion at a regional or country level. And then, of course, the agreement is in place, and so on and so forth. Just to mention that the global agreement is always our preferable approach, because the global agreement provides a kind of standardization to all the different discussions that we have had. And then when a country office or a regional office wants to use that agreement, they can more or less plug and play. The discussions have happened and we finally have the agreement. Thank you. Over.
Thank you, Lorraine. I'm glad that you are able to join us. Maybe we can move on with the next question, which is on the aspect of the rules and regulations and policies and procedures. Let's say if an entity would like to utilize the ICA contract modality, what policies and procedures will apply to the personnel that is on this contract modality, and which entity will be responsible for audit of that process?
So maybe I can start for this one, and I hope David, Lorraine, and Laurencio can come in and supplement. If I understand correctly the question, this is about expanding on what we presented, Zamir, earlier during the presentation around the matrix of responsibilities, right? So UNOPS responsibilities lie with managing administration, payroll, issuing the contracts. But if you remember the slide, it's clear that the partners are managed from a performance, determining what their work should focus on, etc., by partners. If there is an audit, we help our partners. We can advise on best practice approach, but the responsibility, my understanding, is that lie with partners. So with that, maybe, I don't know, Lorraine, David, or Laurencio, if you want to supplement or come in as well on this question.
Lorraine, anything more on this? David, please come in.
Thank you, Samir. I think Arnaud has said very well, but yes, everything that comes under the services that UNOPS provide, that will be within UNOPS responsibility. Payroll, entitlements of personnel, insurance, and so on, but not on the performance of personnel. This personnel are managed, supervised, and under the TOR of our UN partners.
Thank you, David. So combining two questions that is there in the Q&A section. One is on the tax and labor law of the host countries, and the other aspect is also on the currency in terms of like payments of payroll. Mainly on the tax aspect, are ICA holders exempt from taxation or not? And how does UNOPS handle country-specific labor law and tax requirements for all for ICA holders? And when it also comes to the host countries, in most of the countries, there would be a requirement to pay the personnel in local currencies. Does UNOPS actually take responsibility of the payroll of the personnel that are deployed in the field, and how do they basically manage the local currency aspect of the payment?
So maybe I can volunteer myself to start and then call on the team to expand on my response. So on the taxation first, this is something that basically is very specific to each country. So this is something that is the responsibility of each ICA holder. It depends as well on to whether the partner has host country agreements in this country, which can determine the specific status applied to the ICA holders. In some countries, for UNOPS personnel, ICA are recognized and are exempt from tax, right? And I'm talking here about UNOPS ICA contracts holders. So that's on the taxation, and the same would apply, I would assume, regarding labor laws in a way. So maybe, Lorraine, I saw your hand up, so maybe you want to come in and help me answer the second part of the question that Samir
Actually,
had.
I wanted to
Thanks.
also add on to the first part, just to add on to what Arnaud said. So in a nutshell, the ICA contract is not exempt from tax and labor laws, except for countries where they have, as Arnaud mentioned, a host country agreement, where UNOPS or the partner agency has a host country agreement with the in the country. So we usually recommend that our ICAs discuss these issues with their direct HR focal point, so that they have more clarity on what applies and what does not. And in regards to the next portion, I was going to hand over to David because he's the expert in the currency and the payroll field. Over to you, David. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. Payment in local currency is processed as we will do with our national staff colleagues as required. Currently, UNOPS process payments in around 178 countries in around 164 currencies. And there are some questions on payroll. UNOPS has a centralized treasury management system. That means that all bank accounts are managed and reconciled. Centralized. We use an external platform called Kariba. It's a quite sophisticated global networking of banking, and we are able to process payments in all countries that we operate and we are required to operate. UNOPS has around 200 bank accounts worldwide. And in addition to what my colleagues have already said, the ICA contract modality is not a staff member modality, but it is a United Nations employment contract. Thank you.
Thank you, David and colleagues. Maybe moving on with the situations where personnel are already on board and there are staffing issues, issues related to misconduct. And so if any kind of dispute, when there is any kind of dispute from the personnel side, how does UNOPS handles that? Is there a particular, basically, division of labor or legal responsibilities between UNOPS and the partner entity in terms of managing the misconduct or issues arising from disengagement? or it will be purely the responsibility of the partner to handle this case?
So I can
Please,
see,
Lauren.
Lauren, you raised your hand, so please.
Yes.
Sorry, I
ahead.
beat you to it, I know. Okay, so regarding the legal responsibility for disputes and misconduct, under the ICA contract modality, as was mentioned earlier in the presentation, there is a matrix of responsibility that clearly defines the roles between the ICAs and between the both agencies, the partner agency and UNOPS. So if there is an allegation of misconduct, the partner entity is responsible for the investigation and disciplinary process. UNOPS's role is limited to implementing the final misconduct decision. So whatever the partner tells us, basically, regarding these disputes or grievances, we are the ones who are going to implement the decision of the partner. So if the responsibility or the dispute was regarding something related to the contract modality itself, then UNOPS is responsible for that part. But anything with a third party or a different kind of dispute, that will be under the partner. Thank you. I don't know if anyone wants to add on here.
No, I think you really covered it well, Lauren. It's basically aligned to the matrix of responsibility, right? So there is a part that we, UNOPS, are responsible for, and a part that the partner who manages the personnel performance, etc., is responsible for. And I would say that the disputes, etc., resolution follows the same principle.
Thank you, Arnaud. Thank you, Lauren. Another question is about interoperability of various ERP systems that we have in the UN at the moment. Obviously, there is an effort, and we're trying as UNSDG entities to come to a point where we have maybe one or two ERP systems, so that every agency system can talk to each other. But when it comes to processing ICA and managing it, as well as the payroll, is there a need for ERP systems interoperability, or there are systems in place that UNOPS can work with all type of entities with their ERP systems?
So I would say that the ICA modality is ERP agnostic in the sense that it does not require ERP integration. That being said, as you mentioned, there are efforts and use cases where it might be beneficial. So as part of our new strategic plan, we have embarked on an ambitious process innovation and digitalization program that, you know, and we are looking at a range of options, leveraging API and ways to foster digital integration and interoperability with other agencies' systems, including ERPs. And we look forward to basically engaging in this space moving forward as well. Over.
Thank you, Arnaud. And another point that comes really frequent these days is about the transparency of the process, the transactions. How do we basically acquire efficiencies from all these initiatives? What kind of digital tools and dashboards are available, or maybe in the pipeline to be developed, that partner entities could see the uptake of the ICA in their entities? Let's say if I'm a headquarter colleague and I have responsibility for reporting on efficiencies of the reform and utilization of the ICA modality in the UNOPS, would I have the ability to see as one agency in how many locations, for how many transactions, let's say, the ICA modality is used for my entity, and is there dashboards that can give me as an entity focal point this type of information?
So the short answer is yes, in the sense that we do have and monitor real-time. As we mentioned during the presentation, we are piloting a real-time partner HR dashboards that provide partners with the same level of granularity and visibility that we have ourselves for our own people, but also partner personnel. And as part of the improvement roadmap I mentioned, we are looking at ways to further strengthen, improve, and scale these dashboard and ways to share live insights with our partners. I don't know if anyone wants to come in. No.
Great, thanks,
I think
Arnaud.
we covered it, Arnaud.
Thank you. And just before we go with the next question, colleagues, don't be shy to raise your hand so that there is like some diversity in these questions as well. But I wanted to also remind the colleagues that we have an identical session in the next 3 hours at 10 a.m. New York time for the same service. But what is special in that session is that apart from these amazing colleagues, we'll be joined by the co-chair of the Business Innovation Group, Mr. Andrew Seberton, the ASG and Deputy Executive Director of UNFPA, which will create an opportunity for colleagues to speak directly and hear directly from the co-chair of the Business Innovation Group and learn more about how the UN reform of business operations and the global shared services contributing to the overall efficiency initiatives and overall efficiency agenda of the Secretary General that ultimately contributes to UNET initiatives. So a quick reminder, and we look forward to have you at the 10 a.m. session as well. We're like 5 minutes away from closing the session, Arnaud and colleagues. Maybe we can touch base on this super kind of like relevant question of the day, which is the AI and automation. So looking ahead, how does UNOPS basically envision the AI, robotics, and the automation improvements in the HR services, and particularly in the ICA modality?
Thanks. AI is a hot topic within UNOPS as well. So we are investing heavily at different level to equip our colleagues to understand this technology, experiment, and we have quite unique IT development capabilities within the UN system. So all colleagues, I'm talking from UNOPS, right, have access to the Google most powerful Gemini AI models. Our colleagues from IT are developing tailored IT platforms which are AI empowered, and it's tailored to each workflows. And in the HR space, of course, we are quite excited about what we are discussing and working on at the moment, because there is a lot of potential to optimize processes, streamline, and basically get more efficient, faster services for our partners. And I'll repeat the commitment that we have is that any efficiency gain we manage to get from this AI process optimization and digitalization will be passed on to our partners through better services, new offering, and an updated cost recovery model, which we're already working on, and we're hoping to pilot and launch in 2026.
Thank you, colleagues. David, I really wanted to give you last 10 minutes of the session for any final comments from your perspective as the co-chair of the Common Back Office under the purview of the BIG, or as the director of the Global Shared Services for UNOPS. So apologies that we don't have the 10 minutes, but please come in if you have any final words before we close the session.
Give me the last 10 seconds, and I go very quick because there was a lot of questions, and let's see if I can do something in 30 seconds. UNB and ICA are two different contract modalities. ICA is a contract modality developed by UNOPS. It is therefore a United Nations contract modality. Personnel under ICA are not staff members, are personnel of the United Nations. It was created for UNOPS for project reasons, and then offered to partners personnel for that reason. On payments, UNOPS operates in around 178 countries countries right now, 164 currencies. We have 194 bank accounts. All bank accounts are integrated centrally in a treasury management system with an external provider called Kyriba. Payments are processed for payroll immediately. There is no +1 or +2 days. So a process, especially US dollars or SEPA countries, the payroll can be created in the morning, and the recipient could already have received their fee or payroll within the same day. The matters of responsibility, I think, is clear, but as been said, we are here just to ensure that you contact us for any services that you might want. So there is a catalog of service at global level or at country level. Please don't hesitate to do that. International medical, because the vision of this contract is a project contract, colleagues under international contracts normally are moving from projects to projects that they might have already. Their medical package, that's why it's not forced to them. Yes, if they don't have any option within our medical service provider, which is Cigna, from 1st of January, we give them options so they can hire and choose the package they prefer. Global shared services is the future. It's the future within the UN reform. It's the efficiency agenda steps towards the UN 80 goals. These and the other 16 services that are currently offered under the big umbrella. There is some 22 initiatives under the HLCM efficiency, far-reaching efficiency proposals. They are made for us and to be able to deliver. To focus in our delivery strategy and to do this at the lowest possible cost with the maximum possible collaboration between entities. So it's a moment of transformation, it's a moment of change. Please embrace this with all the options that they are right now in the market. Is that okay, Zamir?
Thank you so much, David, and thank you for covering some of the questions we couldn't cover. So colleagues, we promise to share with you the recording and written Q&A of the session, including if any question that we may have missed, we'll share it with the colleagues and we'll share with you a consolidated version of all the questions asked in the earlier session and this. And with that, we thank you for attending the session. We look forward to see you next week in our next global webinar on GSS. And special thanks to David, Arno, Lorraine, and Laurencio for your great exchange today. All the best.